Marvel has a multiverse problem. I was a huge fan of the MCU up until the beginning of Phase 4, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy or even love some of the post-endgame content. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 cemented the Guardians trilogy as my favorite in the MCU, Shang-Chi is one of my favorite films in the MCU, and I found Eternals to be my favorite MCU project of all time despite its numerous problems. Although I liked these particular projects, the Multiverse Saga definitely has a lot of issues, between the Jonathan Majors lawsuit, the lack of quality product in the projects like Quantumania, Multiverse of Madness, or The Marvels, and them seemingly having behind-the-scenes turmoil with changing around their plans. There's a lot of stuff happening. Today I'll quickly be going through the three main problems I see with the Multiverse Saga thus far: the Cameo Problem, the Inconsistency Problem, and most importantly, the Kang Problem. First off, the Cameo Problem. I personally believe that Marvel has been using the multiverse all wrong. They seem to be using the multiverse and the worlds from the multiverse in too small of a role. They're acting like these worlds mean nothing. Like in Multiverse of Madness, they literally blow through world after world, and even the world the film mostly takes place in, Earth 838, wasn't explored very much and was just nostalgia and cameo bait. Toby and Andrew in No Way Home and Patrick Stewart in Multiverse of Madness are perfect examples of just this, cameo bait. The saga hasn't felt like the Multiverse Saga to me, it's felt like the Cameo Saga, bringing back Toby, Andrew, Patrick Stewart, John Krasinski, Kelsey Grammer, and now in Deadpool 3, Hugh Jackman. Not to mention the failure of What If. What If was meant to be the outlet where we could explore these other worlds, but instead half of the episodes were decent and the other half ended up falling flat. These cameos are fun for the first few months, but once you start to really look back at them, they really do nothing to the overall story. Toby and Andrew helped Tom's Spider-Man grow somewhat in No Way Home, but in reality they didn't add anything to the multiverse element besides the fact that they were from different worlds. Tom's Spider-Man doesn't try to investigate the multiverse at all besides trying to get the villains and the two other Spider-Men back to their world. Even the villains in the film are widely useless in my opinion. The MCU could have introduced a new villain to give to Tom, but instead they ruined the story arcs that those villains got in their own films. Instead of having someone original kill Aunt May in No Way Home, they used the Green Goblin from the Raimi-verse and canonized the lack of any character named Norman or Harry Osborn in the MCU. The MCU needs to start giving these cameos more weight. These cameos ultimately have led to an overexertion of fan service coming from Marvel and a decreased importance on actual storytelling. How do we fix this? By focusing on real and accurate storytelling. There's no problem with having cameos, but Marvel, DC, and even Star Wars have been overusing them. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was the perfect use of the multiverse in my opinion. Gunn used the alternate universe Gamora as a way to push the story and conclude Star-Lord's story arc in an emotional way. When storytelling is good, the cameos are meaningful rather than just, oh, I know that guy moments. This would not only resolve the cameo problem, but actually make the cameos that they do include feel important. I don't feel like there's a lot of connection between the projects either. Daredevil shows up in She-Hulk and Fisk appears in Hawkeye, but we still have no firm confirmation on whether or not the Netflix Daredevil show is canon. These stories aren't pushing the overall story forward in any significant way. Even the projects I like fall victim to this. Eternals had a literal celestial come out of the earth, and we've heard nothing from this event outside of this particular film. Shang-Chi now has the 10 rings, but where is his story going? These characters are being introduced and not going anywhere. It's been 2 years since Shang-Chi, and we haven't had any inkling of why he's in this saga. It's been the same amount of time since Eternals, and we still don't know why they were introduced in this at all. When we got introduced to Captain America in Phase 1, we knew that it was a prequel to Avengers. When we got Guardians of the Galaxy in Phase 2, a team where damn near nobody knew about, we got the entire idea of the Infinity Stones introduced in the film. These characters don't seem to be pushing the envelope in any way in recent years. The closest things I can think of that pushed the envelope were actually Multiverse of Madness and Loki, where they introduced the idea of an incursion. This will most likely be what causes whatever events to occur in the next 2 Avengers films and the rest of the Multiverse Saga. But what's up with the writing? The MCU is becoming very hit or miss. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Wakanda Forever were hits, and it looks like everything else ended up leaning more towards miss. They don't seem to have the same standards they've had in the past. Marvel has begun to feel like a conveyor belt of projects, one after another after another. We need the chance to breathe. The inconsistency going from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 to the Marvels alone shows what's wrong with Marvel. We get amazing auteur-driven films like Wakanda Forever and Guardians 3, and then garbage fires like Love and Thunder, Black Widow, and it hurts me to say it, but Eternals. I think the perfect balance we've struck recently between a good MCU project and a good film was Shang-Chi and Guardians 3. Movies should make you feel something, but that something you feel shouldn't be disappointment. While these are huge problems, the main problem is the use of Kang. I'll be honest, I'm one of the people who had only heard of Kang, but had no idea what his powers were or what he does. And I can still say after like 3 appearances and 6 variants later, I still have no idea what Kang does or what his powers are. Hell, I don't even know why he really wants to conquer. That's a problem. I knew who Thanos was, and I feel like he was rarely talked about in the first 2 phases. We were introduced to the idea of Thanos very early on, but after that he felt more like a looming threat. He was meticulously written into the entire saga and was perfectly executed. In the Multiverse Saga, I feel like every other character we're introduced to knows who Kang is and doesn't really shut up about him. We're supposed to think of him as a bigger threat than Thanos, but nobody has really proven why. Because he has a football stadium filled with his variants? Kang was beaten by Scott Lang of all characters in Quantumania. How are we supposed to believe that this guy is a huge threat if he was defeated by Paul Rudd? Even in Thanos' first battle, he destroyed the Avengers and then snapped half of the universe out of existence. After Loki Season 2, there's a perfect out for the MCU that allows them to scrap the Kang storyline and move on to someone else. But I don't think they should do this. I think they should stick with Kang, but drastically change the way he's being written currently and try to make him more menacing. They keep introducing us to different versions of Kang, but I think we need a definitive Kang. One Kang to rule them all. One Kang that we can look at and fear rather than laugh at. I want the MCU to succeed, and I think eventually a reboot will be necessary. But right now, Kang is what we have. I would love to see Doctor Doom or Galactus as the big bad of the MCU, but I would also prefer to see Kang's full potential realized. Because after doing some more research on him, he's really cool, and they're very much underutilizing him. But even after all this, the main thing that Marvel needs to do is take a breather. They should take a step back. Wait more than what feels like every 2 weeks before releasing a trailer. We, as fans, love to see as much of the content as possible, but with a decline of quality, we're beginning to get a bad taste in our mouth. Allow your writers to not feel rushed. Allow your VFX artists some time to get stuff done correctly. And allow your directors to make the films that they want to make. Allow the fans to actually be passionate and exciting for the next project without getting the one that comes after shoved down our throats. And more importantly, allow yourselves to actually figure out what the hell it is you're doing. If us fans don't trust you as a company, we're gonna start not showing up. We've been supporting your company from the beginning. You're nothing without your fans. Without the fans, Marvel wouldn't be the enormous production company that it is today. So don't disrespect us by continuing to give us garbage content. We deserve better. Hopefully you guys agree with the problems and agree with my ways to fix them. Really, there's only one way to fix everything. Stick with Kang and take some time. You've already set him up and have pushed how big he is. A potential recast may be necessary with the behind-the-scenes problems with Jonathan Majors, but I think they can make it work. And Marvel needs to prioritize quality writing. A reason I'm both worried and excited for Blade is the fact that it's being rewritten so many times. I'm sad to say that the films that are stuck in development seem to barely ever work out, but the constant rewrites do show that Marvel is getting fed up with writing that they don't feel confident in. I just hope that they succeed in producing the quality content that we want and that they want. I haven't lived a life without the MCU. I was born in 2005, and that means I was only 3 when the MCU actually began. I don't know a life without it. I grew up with it, and so did a large portion of the world. And the majority of us comic book fans want it to succeed. Hell, I'm a DC fan, and I still want the MCU to be successful. I want to see these characters all on the big screen at the same time and working together again. But I want amazing stories to go along with them. I'm some schmuck, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe if you liked this video. I'm trying to get to 200 before the end of the year, and I'll see you guys soon with my next video. Peace.